Hey guys, it's Jen from over at worldofjencraft.com, and I have another Christmas card as promised. This one uses the Toile Tidings along with the Perfectly Plaid stamp set or bundle. And I just absolutely love the way these turned out. I love the little 3D tree that I made using the punch that goes along with the Perfectly Plaid bundle. Let's get straight to the project because this is a little bit more detailed, so it's going to take a little bit more time. So I'll go over the project, what is this, supplies quick, which that's not what I want to do. I wanted to bring out this first. This is take 2 on this video, by the way. The first one, my dogs went kind of crazy, so I'm hoping they are fine and sleepy right now. Itty Bitty Greetings. This is one of my favorite stamp sets. There's actually 2 cases that come with this, so you get all sorts of fun little greetings that are for pretty much every occasion. I did use the 'Tis the Season on this one. And then the tree punch from the Perfectly Plaid bundle is what I used, so I didn't have the didn't have to use the actual stamp set on that. Like I said earlier, you could take that tree and use it for so many different things. Then I did use the Heirloom Frames and Embossing folders. It does come with an oval and a rectangle one. This is one from the catalog, the 2019-2020 Stampin' Up catalog. I knew as soon as I saw these I had to get them. They were a little bit smaller, however, than I thought they were, but I still think it works out really nice on the 4 1/4 by 5.5 card size. It was a little tricky at first trying to figure out how to use them exactly, but once I did, then I was like, oh, okay, well, it's all good. I think that's it. You know, the twine I used was actually from last year. Last year's holiday catalog. I did it just because it was the closest I could get to my real red. It's actually cherry cobbler twine, but any twine, of course, will work. You are going to want to start with a 4 1/4 by 11 card base scored at 5.5, and then my real red card stock is going to be a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, so it just leaves that little small touch of color around the border. And then, of course, my Toile Tidings DSP is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. Now, the frame itself actually measures a 3 by 4, and so what I did is I cut out a very vanilla center for it, and this is 2.5 by 3.5. With the trees that I cut out, I'll tell you a little trick. What you're going to want to do is, the paper is actually, it's double-sided, so whichever side you're going to want the tree. So for my real red one, I cut out 1 from this side, and then I flipped my paper over, and then I cut out 2 from the green side. Now you'll want to do just the exact opposite if you're using the garden green version instead. And the reason I did this is because they are not symmetrical trees. There is a little bit of difference in how this side and this side. So in order to get the effect that we want, I did have to cut it out like that. This actually works really nice. You don't end up seeing the bottom side, so you could do this with pretty much any kind of paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and just fold these trees in half so I have something to go by when I adhere them. And I'm going to go ahead and fold each one of them, even the center one, because I kind of want that little bit of dimension too. So I'm just going to fold each of these in half, and then we'll get to gluing them all together. And it doesn't have to be, you know, like exact, although I do try to get it as perfect as possible just because that's just how I am. So now that you have that, so this will be our center one. And then I'm just going to take my Tombow glue. I do keep a little pin in there because it has a tendency to get a little goopy if I don't, and it'll clog up. So I just want to run this glue along the edge here And it is kind of gooping up a little bit on me anyways. And then that was actually, yeah, so that'll work. And then I'm going to want to put a little bit down here too. And then what you'll do is you'll just line this up, and those little edges on the tree match up perfectly. So whichever one is going to be the front tree, so this one I'll designate as my front tree. I just want to make sure that all my edges line up nice, so then that way the paper from behind isn't sticking out. So I'll get that down here at the bottom. And I'm going to do the same on this side. So just put your glue down. And then I'm going to line this one up. I don't know why I find it easier to kind of line it up upside down, but so there's that. I'm just going to make sure that my trunk is lined up, because you're gonna, this is what you're gonna end up adhering down to the bottom, this flat side here, and this is what will be on the front. So my trunk isn't quite lined up here. Let's see if I can still move that over. All right, I think that's good enough. So I'm gonna set that aside to dry, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started on our frame. Now the frame, I kind of went back and forth. I did go ahead and cut that out ahead of time, but I wanted to show you how to line it up in the embossing folder and then run it through the Big Shot. It's actually pretty simple to do. So I want it to line up. Let's see if I can get this in the camera view here. I'm just gonna line this up so my red, my cardstock is just on the outer edge of that line that goes through. I don't know if you can see it or if there's a glare on that. And then, oh, so very carefully, I'm going to go ahead and close it up, making sure that I'm kind of pinching that paper here, because I don't want it to move once I have it in place. As far as the sandwich, I feel like these embossing folders have changed a little bit. And my sandwich, I'm just not quite getting what I used to, and I'm not quite sure why. So I went ahead and I used this gray pad first, and then I'm going to very carefully set that down so I don't mess up my placement. For my Big Shot, and everybody's Big Shot and, you know, Cuttlebug, whatever you own is a little bit different. So this is what I found for mine. I am going to put like a shim. This is a thick Whisper White cardstock, and then I'm just going to go ahead and sit my plate on top, and that should give me a nice dimension to my embossing. All right, so we're going to set that aside, and this is what you get. So I don't know if you guys can see the detail in here. Now this is the side that I ended up using. I don't know if it's the right or wrong side. You can use that side as well. It just gives you a different look. But I kind of liked the dimension and the frame that this side gave over the other one. So that's that. Pretty easy peasy. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just run some adhesive around the edges of this. And then just stick that on whichever side that is going to be the back side of my project. So that should be good there. I think I did get maybe a little carried away with my adhesive, so, but for video's sake I'm not going to redo it, but just be aware of that when you put your adhesive on yours. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to take my little stamp here and stamp it out at the bottom. Make sure I got it right. And that's just going to come down here. Oop, maybe a little too low. It's kind of hard, like I said in one of my other videos, the angle that I am sitting in is just kind of an awkward angle to be doing that. So let's go ahead and get this glued on. This card, even though it looks pretty detailed, it really isn't. I mean, it's pretty quick. I mean, it's detailed, but it's actually pretty quick to throw together. So if you have to make multiples of them, which I know we do when it comes to Christmas cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick that down flat. And then set that aside for a minute to dry while I go ahead and assemble the rest of my card. So how are you guys doing on your Christmas cards? I know a lot of people get started like in July or, you know, in the months leading up to it, so they kind of get a head start on it. And then there's those like me who procrastinate and don't get them started till a little bit later, which is one of the reasons that I think that these are really nice cards, because like I said, they don't take very much time to put together, and I think they turn out really beautiful. Oh, and there is the rest of my adhesive. So I don't think I'm going to be needing any more for my last bit, but we'll just line this up here on this real red. It is kind of tricky with these thinner borders when you're assembling it to get it just so. All right, and then I'm just going to use some dimensionals to pop up my frame. Maybe put one in the middle for good measure. So yeah, I made these projects quite a while ago, but just, I don't know, didn't have the, I guess, gumption or whatever to sit down and make any of the videos, so they've been sitting here on my craft desk just calling out my name, telling me to post them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to actually be a little proactive, if you will. Like, I know, shocking. And actually trying to get these all done in a few days, and then that way I can work on my editing and I can post them, versus a lot of times I'll just make the video and post it right away. But yeah, I'm actually trying to get ahead of the game by making quite a few videos at one time and then posting them over the next couple weeks. So yay me for not procrastinating. So I'm going to make my bow as teeny tiny as I possibly can with this. I really like this, this twine. So I think that looks about right. And then of course I don't have my good scissors down here to see how well I can actually cut this with these. Because if I pull a little bit tighter, usually that works. And then get a little itty bitty teeny tiny glue dot. I tend to use a lot of these little mini ones more so, I think, than the larger ones. And again, please excuse my voice. It's still not quite over my little head cold. And then I'm just going to place that right in here. I think it just gives a little extra, you don't have to put a bow on. I did have, you know, you could always put like a little sparkle at the top of the tree. Or you could even, if you wanted to decorate the tree with a few sparkles too, make it look like there's Christmas lights on there. But I just kind of kept it a little bit simple. Well, I did try to put Christmas lights on here, and I felt that it just didn't look right. My placement was not, I don't know. I have a hard time placing things. Anyways, I will stop talking. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and I'm actually always tickled to see how many people enjoy my videos. It warms my heart that I'm able to share my passion and my love for paper crafting. So if you like what you see, make sure to subscribe. If you would like to purchase any of the supplies shown on this video or any of my others, it is jensorizo.stampinup.net. Otherwise, I will catch you on my next video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.